Alrighty, so I'm going to show you how I make our mask that I do. Excuse the thumping in the background, it's Emily. So I start with, I cut 2 pieces of elastic. Typically I make them 7 inches, but since I'm making this for my head's a little big, I make them more like 7.5 inches. It just gives a little extra room. So we got those 2 pieces. We've got this piece is the front piece, right here. Make sure I put it the right way. This is a 9x7 piece of fabric, just a rectangle. And you want the long ways first. And then we take these pieces here are folded in half. Let me show you right quick. I cut them, and so these were, I cut them to be 9x8. So they're gonna be, lengthwise it should be equal. And then with the fold like this, they're gonna overlap. So, I'm not the best at cutting, so as you can see my edges are not the right length, but you know what, it's fine, it'll work. So we're going to pin this all together. We're going to make sure that the right side is facing up before we sew it. Same with your interior fabric or whatever. Doesn't really matter. You know, I guess since you're folded in half, you want the right side out. And I'll show you why in a minute. But anyways, I'm going to pause this video and then I'm going to have it all pinned up for you. So give me 1 minute. Okay, so now I have it all pinned up. I put pins on all 4 corners. Emily, stop. Anyway, sorry about that. So I have them all pinned 4 corners. Your overlap between, this is what's going to create the pocket here, like that. And it's going to overlap about 1 inch. That's why you cut them 9x8. So you'll have 1 inch overlap for the pocket piece right here. And I don't pin the elastic to it because I found it was a lot of extra work and it was too hard for me to do. So what I do is I go through with my little mat here and I take this marker, it's got disappearing ink on it, and I mark a 1/2 inch from the edge right here. From this edge, I'm like 1/2 inch up, and then I put little tiny dash right there. And I do it on all 4 sides so that my elastic will be even on all 4 sides. It'll be evenly placed. And then I'll show you, when I start sewing, I'll show you how I do it. But I'm going to go ahead and mark this, and then I will record some more. Alright, so you can see these little dashes here, and little tiny dashes. This marker's pretty cool because it's made for fabric. I got it from Michaels, and it's air and water soluble ink, and it disappears after 48 hours. So whether you wash it or not, or you can wash it and it just washes right out. I thought that was pretty cool. But since this stuff's going to be on the inside anyways, the sewing, it doesn't really matter if it's showing or not because you're not going to be able to see it. Anyways, so we have this all pinned up. I usually take my top pin out from whatever corner I'm going to start at. I'm not really good at recording this because I don't have a really good way to hold my phone. Let's see. Okay, go ahead. I'm trying to find a good position to show you. Right here. Hold on a second. Pause this. Okay, so I did it this way because I need 2 hands for sewing. I'm not that good. Anyways, and so I'm not really good about marking an inseam. Just because I don't know. My sewing machine has a little 5/8 mark on it, so that's typically where I line my fabric up. Hold on. Emily wants her tablet. Hold on. Here you go. Go play. Go play. Go, go, go. Okay. Alrighty. I'm glad you're a mom too. So anyways, I mark it up with the 5/8 mark right here. And I usually do my back stitch first, so I sew it first. Oh no, I think my needle's bent a little bit. I hope it's not. It looks like it is. I had a mishap with the threader, trying to get the thread to go through. and it got caught and it broke, and yeah, anyways, let's see. We might have to redo this because I don't know if it's gonna sew right. Oh, okay. That's why I had it set on a different setting. I was playing around with the stitches. Anyways, so I usually sew about 3 stitches and then I back stitch over that. And then I go forward a little bit. And then I'm gonna put my needle down into the fabric so it holds it in place. And then I take my elastic here and I open up this little pocket. It's kind of tricky. Let's see here. And then I just basically try to get that elastic kind of lined up with the mark that I made. And I kind of try to sew it on at like a 45-degree angle just so it will be a good angle for the head and it'll hold it straight. It'll hold it on good. Okay, anyways, so there, I got it set up like I want to. Just make sure it's not going to sew over anything. Okay, we still got it all lined up. And then I just sew right over that. I'm not the best at sewing straight lines, so it's a work in progress here. Okay, so we're coming up to the next little dash that I made. And so I'm going to put my needle back down again into the fabric so it stays in place. And then I am going to reach into this little pocket here, find that elastic that I sewed on the other side. I'm going to bring it around and I'm going to try to line it up on this side with the little mark. I'm going at it for 45-degree angle again. Okay. Get my fabric all lined up again. Oops. Okay, and then I sew right over it, and then I'll sometimes back stitch over it. Okay, so when we get to this corner, all I do is I turn the fabric here, and I line it up how I want it to be. Again, my inseams aren't perfect. They're not always lined up like they're supposed to be, but I do my best to try to make them straight at least. And so basically I will straight stitch all the way down to the end. I sew this whole thing. And then I'll show you again how to do the pinning the elastic. So I'm going to pause this right quick. Alright, so we're on to the other side. And so I open this, since this is already sewed on, I open this little pocket up. I try to keep this pin in because it keeps the fabric straight. I take my elastic. And I try to line it up again, right where that mark is at a 45-degree angle. And then I kind of smooth everything out. And I try to keep my finger on the elastic as close to the foot as possible just so it doesn't shift. Because I've had it before where it shifted and then it didn't sew the elastic and it's super irritating. So I try to make sure to hold it in place as best as I possibly can. And then before I flip it right side out, I check the elastic to make sure it's secure. But yeah, we're gonna just sew over the top of that. Take that pin off because we don't need it. And then again, we're gonna reach into this little pocket. I'm gonna grab this little elastic here, gonna bring it down. Alright, then we're gonna sew right over the top of that. And then backstitch a little bit because I went too far. Alrighty. And then So now your elastic is attached. I usually reach into this pocket and I grab the elastic and make sure it's attached on all 4 sides before I do anything else, because you'd hate to have to redo all of this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch down this piece here, and then I'll show you how I flip it inside out and make the pleats and everything, okay? Okay, back again. So I've got everything sewn. Not the straightest lines, but it works, okay? It's not horrible. So a little trick that I learned when you're doing pockets like this is that if you cut the corners without cutting the thread, just cut the little corner piece off like that, it makes it easier when you turn it inside out to push the corners out, because then you don't have all this fabric bunched up. So I just cut off the excess here. And then sometimes if I have a really extra big inseam, because I didn't sew it at the right inseam length because I'm not the best sewer, I will cut off the excess. But I think we're good here. So let's cut this corner off there. And then let's cut this corner off here. Alrighty. I can't wait till I get my cutting mat in, because it's going to make all of this so much easier. Alright, so basically, you just take it, and since we have the pocket, we got a big place to turn it right side out. I just take it, and I use my finger, and I just kind of push the corners out. Like so. There we go. And then, so now you've got this nice little pocket fabric type thing. I gotta plug my iron in because I forgot to plug it in to get it all hot, but I'm gonna press this down with the iron to make it nice and flat and make the seams nice and sharp, because it makes it easier to do the pleats when it's like that. And then I'll show you the trick that I learned how to make evenly spaced pleats, because I struggle with those pleats, but I'll show you the trick that I learned from watching videos that helps me at least get somewhat like straight looking pleats and everything like that that are evenly spaced out. So I'm gonna get my iron plugged in and get it all hot, and then I'll show you how I do it. Alright, I think my iron is hot enough. So I've got my own little tabletop ironing board here. Whew, that's hot. Alright, so now it's nice and flat. Just makes it easier to work with. I've got all these nice, oh, I got a string here. Oh well, I'll cut that off. Nice and pretty. I love this yellow fabric. Okay, so what you do here to get some pleats is fold it in half like a hot dog and kind of press down a little bit. You don't want it super sharp, but you press down a little bit. This helps you find the middle of your mask. So now we have this nice little crease here. You take the sides here. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand. And you fold both sides down to the middle like that, right? And I try to make sure my edges are all lined up and neat and stuff like that. And then you're going to take this and fold it in half again on top of itself like a hot dog. So it makes this nice little skinny piece of fabric here, right? And then you take the iron. I'm just going to press down on this, make sure it's nice and crisp. By the way, I love this iron because when I'm using it, if it sits upright for a long period of time, it stops heating up, even if it's plugged in. And that's awesome because that means less burned fingers. Okay, I'm going to try to prop you up here again. Alright. Let's cut this little weirdo string off and not cut my fingers. No, I don't need to cut that. All right, so kind of show you. This is hard to see because it's black fabric, but you've got these creases now, right? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the crease and you're gonna fold it over until you have about a 1/2 inch or so, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of material folded over itself, right? And you do that on both sides. And then I just take a little pin and I just kind of poke it in there and try to get all the layers of fabric so it stays. Oh, I didn't do that right. Let's try that again. Having difficulties here. I can't do it right. Anyways, okay, so you see it, I went straight through the side. It comes out a little bit at the bottom, but that holds the pleat right nice in place, and then you just go over straight across the top and you fold it again on the other side. So I'm gonna do that. Again, I am having difficulties with pens today for some reason. Hey Google, play TV. Gotta have that spirit going for Emily. Anyways, so then you get something like this. And it's a nice little pleat right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the pleats. And then I'll show you what they look like after I'm done. Well, Emily found bubble guppies, so you're gonna have bubble guppies in the background. Anyways, this is how I finished it. So I got 3 pleats here. You're not gonna have very much at the bottom edge, but that's okay because when you got the mask and you pull it out, it's just gonna cover your whole face. So the bottom doesn't really matter. So yeah, I got those 3 pleats there and 3 pleats here. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and sew this, and I typically just do a straight stitch because I'm lazy. A zigzag stitch probably would hold better, but it's really just up to you which way you want to do it. I just find straight stitch, it's just faster and quicker and less work. And when you're making a whole bunch of these, you don't want to have to do a whole bunch of work. Oh yeah, I need to show you how I do the nose piece too. If you wanted to add a wire piece. Alright, let's see. So I typically cut this. I got these pipe cleaners from Michaels. I typically take the corners and I bend them down over themselves. So that way they're not going to poke you through the face. And then I open up this pocket in here. You really should do this before you do the pleats because it makes it easier. But I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't do that. Okay, so I have it up here. And I try to push it up to the very top. I'm trying to make sure that it's centered. It's not the easiest thing to do. Anyways, okay, so then I just take like a little safety pin and I just kind of pin it right here because I don't want it to move. You really just need one safety pin. I just don't want it to move out of place when I'm sewing. Okay, so make sure my lines are still straight. Alright, I'm going to try to turn you. I'm going to go turn the volume down on her tablet. Okay, that's better. Alright, so we're just going to start. I usually try to get about 5/8. It doesn't really matter. Just, you don't want, like when I sew it, I just try to get it a decent distance from the edge of the fabric, but you don't want it too far in because then you lose the size of your mask. So I try to do it the same type of inseam that I did when I first started sewing it, because that tends to keep it a pretty good distance. And then we're going to secure the stitch. And you want to go slow, because sometimes when you're sewing, the pleats can shift. And so I usually wait until the last minute to take the pins out, because I don't want the shape of the pleats to mess up. The reason why they shift is because you got this foot pushing down on them, and it's just kind of hard to sew over all that fabric. Alrighty. And then we cut that, and there you go. Get it nice and sewn. Right there. And then you got these nice little pretty pleats. And I'm going to show you a trick as well, because I don't always trust my back stitching, because you can see I didn't do it really well, but I'm going to show you how my friend Christina showed me how to secure these stitches better, just to make sure they're extra secure. So I'm going to finish sewing this pleats on the other side, and then I'll show you how I sew up the nose piece here, and then how to secure everything. Anyways. Alright, so I finished sewing this side. You see, I've got all these pleats, and then when you pull it out, it goes like that. So anyways, I'm gonna keep this folded. So we've got the wire up here. It shifted, so I'm gonna have to unshift, like move it back to where I need it to be. Hold on a second. It's really hard to do, and also to make sure the wire is straight enough so you can sew it in place. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of show you first what I do before I sew it, 'cause it's gonna be kind of hard to see on the sewing machine. But usually what I do is I find the end piece of where the wire is right here, and I do like 3 stitches down and then back, so I do my secure stitch, and then I keep the needle in the fabric and I turn it, and then I sew as close as I can to the edge of the wire here, and then I stop, and then I turn and find the other end of this wire and do the same thing like I did in the beginning, where I do 3 stitches to the end and then I back stitch over it. So that's secure, and it's not going to move anywhere. And I'm using, I don't want to say black thread, but it's like a dark brown thread, so it's not going to show up on the material. So she is singing Bubble Guppies right now in the background. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna go forward again. Alright. Then we're gonna put the needle down and lift the foot so we can move it. Put the foot down. And then we're just gonna try to sew straight as possible. And I'm not the best at sewing, okay?